Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Job, the 24th chapter. And, pretty much in here, as Job speaks, he makes the case here that it seems like, or at least he complains, about what seems like delayed justice, right? To where, wickedness goes on, but there's not like immediate, recompense or retribution upon them. Verse 1, why, seeing times are not hidden from him or from the Almighty, do they that know him not see his days? So he's saying, why is it, right, that it's not like the times and the events that take place are the Lord is oblivious to that. They're not hidden from him. So why then do they that know him not see his days? And his days are here. He's saying, like, why is it that those that know the Lord don't get to see his divine intervention, right, in real time? It's almost like, every so often something happens, but like you don't see things happening, right away. Okay. It says, some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed thereof, which is here he's referring to the wrongdoers. And removing the landmarks is what you're not supposed to do that, right? To violently taking away flocks, you're not supposed to do that, right? And then using it for their own benefit. They drive away the ass of the fatherless, right? So they take that because the fatherless, that's signifying those that are less fortunate in society, right? And so the ass, which is the donkey, might probably be all that they have, right? Their only way to get about and so on. So to drive that away or to take that from them, forcefully, that's a wicked thing to do, right? They take the widow's ox for a pledge, which once again is something that is probably, very here the speech, right, or the examples here are to emphasize that they take advantage, of the less fortunate in a wicked manner. Certain things that are very important, right, like in the law even tells you you're not supposed to take a millstone for a pledge because it's needed for daily bread. Verse 4, they turn the needy out of the way and the poor, which is like perverting justice for the needy, and the poor of the earth hide themselves together. So it says here in the NLT, the poor are pushed off the path, the needy must hide together for safety. Behold, as wild asses in the desert, go they forth to their work, rising betimes for a prey. The wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. This is dealing with the sufferings, basically, of the less fortunate, the needy. So it says here in the NLT, like wild donkeys in the wilderness, the poor must spend all their time looking for food, searching even in the desert for food for their children. They reap everyone his corn in the field, and they gather the vintage of the wicked, meaning the wicked, use the labor, right, of the poor for their advantage. But here it is, the poor are working, but they're not really gaining any benefit from it, right? So they have to reap, which is a form of labor, reap the corn in the fields, right, of the wicked. They have to gather the vintage, which is, the gathering in of the grapes and the crops and so on of the wicked. But they're not really getting anything from it, right? They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, and they have no covering in the cold, which is to cause the naked to lodge without clothing. One, right, to basically strip from them everything they have down to their cloak. Now, the naked, in the ancient world, it wasn't necessarily that you would like have absolutely no clothes on, but what they had as their under, what they would wear under everything, their breeches, you could say. When you don't have that covering over it, you're considered naked, right? Like today, if somebody was running outside in their underwear, right, they would still say there's a naked man running outside. And then they might say, well, is he completely naked? Okay, and they would say, well, he may not be complete. No, he's not completely naked, but he's naked, right? So you might still have some article of clothing on, but you're still considered naked. So here, as it says, they cause the naked to lodge without clothing, and they have no covering in the cold. That is the naked, right, or the poor, the fatherless, so on. Okay, and this is by hand of the wicked, the ones that are well off, that are taking advantage of them. And this might be via taking their cloak or their garment as a pledge, or they owe some debt, right? And then basically taking that to say, well, if that's all you have, I'll just take that. Verse 8, they are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock for want of shelter. So it says here in the NLT, they are soaked by mountain showers, and they huddle against the rocks for want of a home. They pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor. And this is the acts of the wicked, that is. NIV says, the fatherless child is snatched from the breast, that is taken from their mom. The infant of the poor is seized for a debt. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry. And and the sheaf is like the bindings of of the harvest, when they bind it up into bundles. So that's like taking away, their clothing, right? Taking away their food, and this is all to say, like they suck them dry, right? For lack of better terminology there. All right, and these are all acts of the wicked. So it says here, which make oil within their walls and tread their wine presses and suffer thirst, right? NLT says they press out olive oil, when this is the poor, they press out olive oil without being allowed to taste it, and they tread in the wine press as they suffer from thirst. So here, the less fortunate, they suffer, right? They're working hard, but they're not they're not being compensated for it, right? They're being whether it's like forced labor or taken advantage of by those that are wicked, that are well off. And it's similar things here, that when you go into like the book of Micah and Hosea and stuff, they were warning Israel about these same things, right? Here Job is just speaking generally about the wicked deeds of ungodly men. It says, men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. So this is his whole case, right? That all these things are happening, right, on the earth. And yet here it is, NIV, the groanings of the dying rise from the city, and the souls of the wounded cry out for help. But God charges no one with wrongdoing. See, going into that delayed judgment, right? That it's like all these iniquities are going on, but you're not seeing the actions of the Lord in real time. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. It's lucky, I think I skipped the verse here. Verse 13, they are of those that rebel against the light. They know, this is dealing with the wicked, they know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. Right? So they rebel against the light, the righteous path, the righteous things, and they know not the ways thereof. They don't follow in those ways, nor abide in those paths. The murderer rising with the light, meaning early in the morning, killeth the poor and the needy, and in the night is as a thief. They steal things at night, and they do harm in the early morning. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight. So he waits for that darkness, whether it's dusk or dawn, saying, no eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face, right? So he hides himself to go and do wickedness. In the dark they dig through houses, which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. So when they spot a habitation, they spot a house, they spot a dwelling place in the daytime, then in the nighttime they go ahead and they break into it. they know not the light, right? They don't live according to the light. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one knoweth them, they are in terrors. So in the nighttime is when they work. And they're afraid of the morning time because then people are awake, people can spot them out. And as it says, if one knoweth them, if anyone recognizes them, they are in terrors. Because if you went and stole something and somebody caught you and they recognize you, say, oh, that's the person that stole it. That's why it says it's like the shadow of death for them. So it says, if one know them, they are in terrors of the shadow of death. He is swifter, or he is swift as the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. In the NLT, it says, but they disappear like foam down a river. Everything they own is cursed, and they are afraid to enter their own vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so doth the grave those which have sinned. So just as the drought, and let's say heat melt and consume snow, that's the same way the grave consumes the wicked, those that have sinned. The womb shall forget him, the worm shall feed sweetly on him, right? So the womb, which represents their mother, right, or the earth, or their birth, okay, which is once again just like metaphorical speak. But it says here the womb, or NLT, their own mothers will forget them. Maggots will feed or will find them sweet to eat. And it's just signifying how it's like death is going to be happy to have them, right? Because that's how deserving they are of it. So it says here, the worm shall feed sweetly on them. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree, right? So the wicked, this will be their fate, right? They would die. The decomposers will be eager to break down their body in the grave, right? They're not going to leave a memorial, right? They're not going to be remembered. And as it says, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree, just like a tree is broken up, let's say during some mighty storm. That's how they're gonna be likened onto. He evil entreated the barren, or entreateth the barren that beareth not, right? So the helpless mom that has no children, they treat him wrong, and doeth not good to the widow, right? They don't do justice to the widow. They take advantage of them because they are in a position of vulnerability. He draweth also the mighty with his power. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. And here this is dealing with the Lord, right? It says here in the NLT, God in his power drags away the rich. They may rise high, but they have no assurance of life, because they'll ultimately be judged. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereupon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. So even though they may be safe for a while, and as it says, dwell safely for a while, the Most High is constantly watching them. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as as all other, and cut off as the tops of ears of corn, right? So they may, dwell, they may be exalted, they may live, in what would seem like a paradise for a little while, but as it says, they are gone and brought low. Eventually, they're going to be brought down, and they're going to be judged, and they're going to be destroyed. As it says, they are taken out of the way as all other, so they're going to perish, and cut off as the tops of ears of corn. So just like when you cut the branches of the corn, you pluck the ears and all of that, that is how the wicked will be undone. And if it be not so now, who will make me alive? So if this is not true, if all the things I've just said here are not really the case, who can prove me wrong? Who can prove that I'm lying and make my speech nothing worth? So I'll read this also in the NLT. Can anyone claim otherwise? Who can prove me wrong? And that brings us to the end of the book of Job, the 24th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.